Hi, this is Jared with PyXQL, where you teach accountants how to use Python, Excel, and SQL. Today, we're just going to start off with the basics of Python. We're going to learn about the different data types, and we're going to download Thony and get some practice in. To start off, you need to go to Google and type in Thony, Thonny. And once you get to the website, which is thony.org, it gives you a download for Windows. Go ahead and download it. Once download, go ahead and execute it. Once you have Thony installed, to open it, you go ahead and hit the start button, and it's right there, or you can start typing in Thonny, and you can open it right there. Now to start off, we're going to just start here in the shell, and we're going to learn a little bit about data types. And the first data type we're going to learn about is integers, and integers are just that, numbers. If you're familiar with Excel, you should be familiar with this, and we're going to do just a little bit of math. And so, for example, 5 plus 5 equals 10. So I hit 5 plus 5, and then I hit the enter button, and that gave me a result of 10. Okay, and 5 plus 6, these are pretty standard things. Then we can do 6 minus 5, helps if I get it there. That's 1, and so that's just a very simple math. And you can have 5 times 5, hit enter, and you get 25. Or 25 divided by 5, and you get 5. Now we're getting to another data type. So far we've just been working with integers. Now we're working with what's called a float. And a float is anything with a decimal in it, okay? So 5.0 plus 5 is going to be 10.0, a float. So a float kind of overshadows integers when it's inside of any kind of calculation. So if you do any math with an integer and a float, it'll return a float. Now, for most times, it doesn't matter too much. Inside of Python, you can interchange the two of them by just doing math between the two. Sometimes it will matter, but we'll get to that in maybe a later lesson. Okay, so now that we understand floats, we have 5.2 divided by 5.2, 1.0. And let's get into the next thing where we're going to talk about Boolean. Booleans are true and false. It's in either and or. So we have true, and notice it's a capital T because in Python, capitals matter. If you have a capital versus a lowercase, that is different. So true like this, which if I enter it returns true, is different than true without a capital T, which is a string, basically. But here it's going to return an error because I didn't put quotes around it. We'll talk about strings here in a second, but we have true and then we have false. Okay. Now, something that's interesting about true and false that you need to pay attention to is that true is also equal to 1. So if I use two equal signs, it compares the left and the right. So as I say basically ask the computer. So if I basically ask the computer if true equals 1, I'm going to get back true. And a little trick when you're using the shell down here is if you hit the up button, it'll bring you to the last thing that you inputted. So if you keep on pressing up, I can see the last things that I put in there. That's kind of a nice shortcut to get things. So I'm going to press up one time and get back what I did last time. And I'm going to ask, is true equal to 0? And I'm going to get false. But now I'm going to ask, is false equal to 0? And I'm going to get back true because 0 is false. Now, there's another thing inside of Python that we'll get to a little bit later, which is called truthy. And basically what the idea is that if it's not 0, it can act as a true for certain situations when you're asking like if statements and those kind of things. Now, we'll get to that, so you don't need to worry, but just understand that there is more to true than just the number 1. One other data type that we want to learn about right now is going to be none. So none is just that. So if I type in none and I hit enter, it doesn't return anything because it's none. And you can ask, is none equal to false? And you're going to get back false because none is not false. It's just none. But it is a data type that you need to pay attention to because it's also a type, none type. So one thing, as you're going through your programming, you may get to times when you want to figure out the data type of whatever you're doing. And to do that, you use a function called type. And this is something that you might use all the time, where if I say I want to know the type of the number 1, it's going to come back at, oh, sorry, I used capital T there instead of lowercase. So type 1, like I said, capitals matter. But if I say type 1, it's going to come back as an integer, which is going to be different than the type true. Okay? Capital again, sorry. So if I do type true, it's going to come back as a Boolean. Now, when I say that 1 and true are the same thing, they are the same thing, but they are different types. And in Python, things are very fluid. You don't have to hard put in what type the variables are, like you might with VBA. Okay, so this is just kind of a basic lesson where we're just learning about the very fundamentals of data type and how to start putting some things in that you get responses to. In the next lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about variables and strings and interesting things with that. And we'll see you there.